What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy podcast live in the studio. Tonight, I'm going to be going live with Francheska. We're going to do it here tonight, guys. Normally, I do it on StreamYard to Facebook, but we decided to do it here. So that's where we'll be. I'm going to give it a few minutes. I'm going to share this out, let her come on, and then we'll kind of go from there. And we'll see who's here to join us. I'm going to obviously send it to her first. And then we'll go from there. How's everybody doing tonight, guys? I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody has fun. Everyone had a good weekend. I thank you guys all for being a part of my podcast and my channel. I really do appreciate it. All the love and support, guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this, guys. Like I said, normally, I do my podcast, guys, on StreamYard to Facebook. Francheska asked me if I could please do it here because this was where all her fans and followers are. So I said, yeah, that's fine. So with that being said, I'm here, guys. Welcome. This is the One Fun Guy podcast. I am going to be doing it live via TikTok tonight. Normally, I don't, but I am going to do it tonight for her. So let's see who we can get on, guys. If you could share this out, I would really, really appreciate it. That would help me out immensely. I'm just going to share this to my norms and kind of go from there and then see what is happening from there. And then obviously I'm going to send this out to Francheska and then hopefully she joins me live from this link that she's on now. And then basically, guys, I'm going to do the podcast from here. So it's nothing different. Me and Kelly have done this before hundreds of times where we've been on and we've been live on TikTok with our podcast. So this is really nothing new to me, guys. Francheska has been a long time user of TikTok. So she asked me, could we please do this on here? I said, sure. So like I said, this is, the platform she goes with. So again, guys, I try to accommodate my guests in any way possible. If you guys are on and you happen to like the video, if you could get me to 1,000 likes so it goes to the FYP, I would really appreciate that. I'm sure when Francheska gets on, she's going to invite all of her fans. I'm obviously hosting it because it's my podcast, so this is what I do. Like I said, guys, normally TikTok is just fun for me. But this is going to be an official podcast, so I'm just waiting for her to get on. I already sent her the invite link, so if you like the live, guys, that'd be awesome. If you could share me out, that would be super, super helpful. And if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be fantastic. So if we can do that, Zara Star, thank you so much. As always, you're a super fan. I appreciate it, guys. This isn't my norm, like I said. Normally, guys, I go live on StreamYard. Tonight, I'm just happening to do this for Francheska. So I'm really, really, hoping that it pays off for the both of us. But this is my studio, guys. I'm in it. I'm hanging out tonight, guys. We're having a good time. It's going to be a fun podcast. Just two friends talking. We're going to talk about networking, all the stuff she's got going on, her business entrepreneurship, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the whole nine, guys. If you could dream it, we're going to cover it. So I'm super, super happy that Francheska is my guest. Sexy lady, what's going on? How are the food reviews going? I haven't forgotten about Sexy Lady. She did a podcast with me live in person. Hopefully we can do another one. We could do some food reviews one of these days. That would be awesome too. I'd love to do that. I'm just waiting for Francheska to get on, guys. And then once she hops on, the podcast will officially start. But this video is going to be live on YouTube, guys, just like they all are. One Fun Guy podcast over on YouTube. My link is in my bio. If you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be awesome. That's kind of where my bread and butter is at. So I'm just kind of hanging out tonight, guys, waiting for Francheska to come on. Some of you may or may not know, I did go to the range and my earpiece, something happened to it. My ear's been ringing all weekend. If it doesn't get better, I might go to the doctor tomorrow. But I got this kind of pounding in my ear. So if I'm talking louder than normally, I apologize. I'm really having a hard time hearing out of it. It's really been a bother to me. Ellie, what's going on? We're here tonight, guys. Like I said, if you're a little bit late, Francheska asked me nicely if we could do it on TikTok because that's where her friends and followers are at, and I said sure to accommodate her. So here we are, guys, live doing the podcast on TikTok, which, like I said, I've done a few here. It's not really my style, but it's okay. Excuse me, guys. So I'm just waiting for her to hop on. Once she does, we'll start the podcast. If you're here, say hi. If you're on, I'm gonna invite Francheska to come on, and then we'll just get it going. I'll have her introduce herself and kind of go from there. I sent her the invite, so when Fran gets on, we'll go from there. We'll pick it up. It'll just be like any other live, guys. It's just an official podcast that we're doing here. So nothing changes on my end. It's the same style. We're just going to have a nice conversation about, all the stuff that I aforementioned. Other than that, guys, like I said, nothing changes on my end. It's still a podcast. We're still on. I'll let Fran kind of get set and kind of get ready. And then we'll start the podcast. I don't like the way my camera's set up, but I guess I'm just going to live with it. It's kind of weird. It's off to the side, but whatever. I don't want to mess with it now, so all is well. Let me see if I scoot this way, maybe a little bit better. I'm more centered. We'll rock this for now. Francesco, what's going on?
Hi, how you
How you
doing?
doing? I'm good. How about yourself?
How do I look? I look okay.
Look good.
So what's
So,
going on?
not much. I was just kind of telling my viewers that I normally don't do the podcast from TikTok, but to accommodate you, here we are. So basically, all I kind of wanted to do was get into it. I'll let you introduce yourself, tell everybody kind of what you got going on, and like I said, we'll have a friendly conversation. So,
Hi guys, how you doing? I'm Francheska Vanders. I actually am the founder of Vanders Media. Some of the live shows I do are Fran After Dark, Queens of the Chain, and Unfiltered and Fabulous. I kind of have those three shows. Sorry, I'm a little nervous here, a little unprepared.
no worries. We'll listen. We'll take it slow. It'll be fine. Let's start with this. So, Vanders Media. Where did that idea come from? What made you want to kind of branch out on your own?
So actually, like my whole TikTok journey brought me to Vanders Media. I
Okay.
originally started out just like everybody else. I posted videos, and then as I started getting into lives, I didn't want it just to be me talking into a camera. So many times for me, like that's not me unless I'm doing like the news or,
Sure.
you know, being an anchor. For me, it was more like I want to get to know these people beyond their profile pics. And,
Okay.
like, not saying that people put on a mask or perform, but when they go live, they put on a performance. And
Hmm.
sometimes you really don't get to know the person behind the performance or the profile pic. So I started out with a show. It was called Zoom Out. And it was where a lot of creators came and we talked about projects they were working on, personal things they don't normally talk about in their lives. And that kind of evolved into Fran After Dark, which became an after midnight show where it's pretty much anything goes. Sometimes it can get a little graphic and a little NC-17, but
Good.
and then I belong to a crypto community and I wanted to bring the view to TikTok. So I wanted it to be an all women panel, which I'm a trans woman. I'm not a biological woman. I understand that. I don't need anybody in the comments to let me know. But I named it the Queens of Crypto. So it was open to not only women, but also women like me.
Okay. So, out of these platforms that you had, what made you pick TikTok over the other social media channels that are out there? And we'll get into the power of networking and why TikTok is important and kind of usefulness and of it. But what made you pick this platform over the other ones?
Well, this one was the one where I started growing.
Okay,
This, I mean, I have Facebook. I have, 25, what is it, 2,500 followers. But that was the old me. That was the showgirl. That was the drag queen. So I really wanted to come on TikTok and be who I am now.
sure.
And this actually gave me a fresh start. I didn't have the whole drag persona and everything attached to it. So I was able to create this and make it my own.
Okay. So as you started this journey, and you started these groups, which ones did you kind of gear towards more? Was it more towards the entertainment? Was it more towards the business? A little bit of both. Like, where was your mindset when you started it? What was the ultimate like platform that you wanted to set for yourself?
So everybody who knows me knows that I'm just an unfiltered bitch. Everything that I'm thinking comes right out of my mouth. So it
Sure.
is more towards the entertainment side. It is reaching different demographics, where Fran After Dark is going to be more adult and more. Uh, if you think about the old days, like when you stayed up late to watch MTV, to watch Love Line or Singled Out, those were shows that weren't really during the day.
Hmm.
And then I have Queens of the Chain, which is starting back up in March at 7 p.m. on Sundays. That's usually when ladies have time to sit down. Their kids are taken care of. They've got nothing going on. So that's when I geared that show towards that demographic at that time.
Sure.
And then I also have Unfiltered and Fabulous, which is myself and a fellow trans girl. And we do that at 7 o'clock every Thursday, and that's geared more towards the LGBT trans community.
Sure. So obviously, I've said this before, and I'll say it again to the viewers. TikTok is such a great networking platform
Yes.
because it allows you to meet people that you normally wouldn't come across in your circles, like how I met you, right? You came across my FYP. I started digging in. I'm like, this person's kind of cool. They got a really good platform. They got a good foundation and a good base. I'm going to reach out. So I sent you a message and I said, hey, do you want to be a guest on my podcast? And, we kind of grew from there. So, explain your journey with TikTok and how you meet people and like how you reach people. Do they come to you? Do you find them? What's your kind of niche in this
So
bizarre
TikTok has
world of
kind of
TikTok?
changed over the past year. I mean, when I was first here and nobody knew who I was, I actually created a video where I honored women that I looked up to. And that's actually what opened the door to get me into the group chats and then moderating. My first mod job on here was with Crypto Psycho, which not a lot of people on your platform know, but if they're from my side, they know who he is.
Hmm.
And it was nerve wracking. There was a lot of people in there, and I didn't know what I
Right.
was doing. But that opened a door, that opened a door, and before you knew it, I was modding for just about 20 to 25 people. And that really threw my name out there a lot. People would think they're moderator. I also would gift a panel. If there was a panel of people, I would throw a gift to each person because
Okay.
everybody's time is worth
Sure.
money. So, but those are just ways that I worked into it. And I'll tell anybody, you don't get anywhere without putting in the work. And if you don't put in the grunt work, you're not going to get there. And so that's how I
Sure.
got to where I am now, where I actually moderate for, I don't know if you know him, David Goldstein?
I
Goldstein?
heard. Yeah. So I'm familiar with it, but
And I'm not trying to name drop, but that's
no,
currently
that's
where I'm at.
no, that
But
that's fine because yeah, so my one of my first TikTok connections ever was Kaji. He's a musician out of I think Denmark or Norway. I can't remember where he's from. So we had a really hard time connecting because of the time difference. And I was like, dude,
right.
I want you to be a guest on my podcast. So when I hit my first 100 subscribers on YouTube, he actually hopped in my live. I went live to celebrate. And he was like, bro, congrats. And I was like ecstatic that Kaji was like, because he's got, thousands of viewers every time
Right.
he goes live playing guitar. So from the music side of things, that's kind of who I emulated on TikTok. So I know what you mean when you hit like somebody big that like you start a group
Right.
with
Like you
and
never
you
want to
go.
name drop, but
Sure.
it's part
And
of
I
your
don't mind because
story.
Kaji's been on my podcast before and now he's a friend of mine, which is actually really cool. But I met him through TikTok on his music stream, and he was kind of the first guy that I gravitated towards that was actually a platform that I one day would have wanted to have. Because, like I said, every time he goes live, he has hundreds of people watching him, right? So it was kind of something that I wanted to emulate towards because I was like, if this guy could do it, maybe I could do it. Now, he has a lot more, persona than I do, right? Like I have my podcast and this is kind of what I do, but he's got the music community, he's got the
Yeah.
instrument community. So, besides heavy metal and hard rock, he has a plethora of guitars. So he's got all the guitar community in there. He's got the strings, the pedals, the amps. So he's got beyond music, like his reach is a lot further. But he
Right.
was my kind of guy that I met. He was my first TikTok kind of like persona that I met. So that's kind of how when I did my One Fun Guy podcast, when I saw his background, he used to wear a One mask. So he had kind of the half mask and it was really awesome. But his background is really cool. And my background now is where it's at. But before it was plain. I didn't have any of this. So I
Right.
just went live with a light on and I was like, wait, I got to figure this out. So,
I mean, a lot of
obviously,
people, this is new for them. This is the first time I'm talking in front of the portrait behind me. Normally,
I
I
like it.
do my lives at my desk in the office, and there's another desk behind me, and
No,
or I
it
can go
looks
up into
good. Yeah.
another room, and then, but I wanted to do something different for this,
I
and
appreciate it.
just to branch off what I was saying earlier about
Yeah.
David, he actually has a live here on TikTok Monday through Friday, noon to 2 o'clock Eastern time. It's called The Breakdown. If you're looking for me, you'll find me in there moderating the chat.
Awesome. So let's get into a little bit of the cryptocurrency, right? Like we kind of use that as kind of
Okay.
our base, right? So you're obviously, a investor and I know you did some things recently and I'll let you explain kind of what happened. But what made you want to do crypto and Bitcoin versus the other trends in marketing, stocks, bonds, coins, right? Gold and silver. There's a lot of things that you can invest in. I think the cryptocurrency kind of was a whirlwind that took everybody by storm, and people kind of just were trying to figure this out. What drew you to it? And start with your first investment, where you were at, and kind of what you're doing now. You can walk through it. Take your time.
So I used to work in corporate. I used to work for Transform Co. back in the day. Um, And I actually got into it by a night janitor. I used to stay late. We became friends, and he was like, "Hey, I got an opportunity I want you to talk to you about." And he talked to me, and that's when I started my journey. The first coin I ever got was Bitcoin. What was it, January 2021? My mother talked me into XRP. And then I just kind of lost interest in it. I mean, the community that's there now is not the same community that was there 5, 6 years ago.
Sure. It's a much different world now. Yes.
So, but then I kind of dropped off, and it didn't really come back into play until Trump started running for office and started talking about crypto.
Okay. So with the cryptocurrency and its stage now versus where it was, right? When you start getting a lot of stock investors interested in something, it kind of points you in that direction, right? Because
Right.
that's how I was. So I used to watch a guy on YouTube, producer Michael, and he's a multimillionaire out of Hollywood, and he sold his company. He had the first digital recording where you could take an old track and a new track and mix it. So like when Nat King Cole did the duet with his daughter Natalie, that was his technology. He developed that. So you could take an old recording and mix it with a new one. So he sold that for, I think, 60 or $70 million, and his assets just became big. So he creates a YouTube channel and says, well, I'm going to go and show you Hollywood. So he went to all these exotic mansions that nobody could ever afford, and he did a walkthrough. And Adam was his camera guy. So Adam Swords was the camera guy. And so he first started mentioning Bitcoin and investing in it. Now, this guy invests in hundreds of other things, right? Different stocks, different
Right.
dividends. But when somebody like famous like that says, hey, Bitcoin's the next thing, it kind of keeps your like, so that was my first alert to it was producer Michael. This video was probably 2021 as it started really hitting that platform. And so producer Michael was the one who kind of hit my ear with Bitcoin. But then I started reading about other cryptocurrencies, and it's Papa Pen was I was trying to remember. But
Yeah.
Papa Pen had a thing one day. I'm a big fan of like outdoor gear and write in the rain stuff. And Papa Pens, you can write anywhere. So underwater, in space, they're not quite the Fisher space pens, but they're kind of nice. And so they had a thing one day
Right.
called Doge. It was a special thing. So you could get a Doge pen. And I didn't know what Doge was. So I Googled it. And so I started reading online about it. And so the first thing I did is I go right to Google, right? And I type in Dogecoin and it says, you can get a wallet, you can get a crypto wallet, you can go through Robinhood, you can go through any one of these other different vendors that you could go through to get it. So I didn't know what it was. So I started an account with Robinhood. And that's how I got my first Doge. And that's where I've been. Now,
You
I didn't
know,
invest a lot in it, right? Yeah.
a lot of people start with Robinhood because they're in stocks.
Yeah. So I did the same thing, right? So I did Robinhood, and then obviously I from Robinhood I did Crypto Wallet. So I have
Yeah.
that going, right? But Robinhood is where I started. It was where I dropped my first $20, and that's kind of what I did. So as I started getting into the crypto market, that's what got me into Shiba and all the other ones that I'm in now. And I just kind of let it sit, right? And I'm under the pipe dream that one of these days it'll hit a penny because I bought them for 1/1000th of a penny. It was 0.00000097. So I think I bought $1 worth and I had 300 stocks. And so I said, well, I'm going to put $20 in, and if it ever hits a penny, I'll probably have about 75 or $80,000, and if it ever hit $1, I'd be a millionaire. So I went on the pipe dream. That hasn't yet, so it's fluctuated a little bit, but I've gotten some money back on my investment. But I'm just hoping that one of these days it hits $1 and I could
Well,
have a much different life.
usually a lot of it, the advice we'll give somebody just coming in is stick to the top 10 to the top 25, because those are usually less as volatile as something you're mentioning, like a meme coin.
Right. And that's what I did. Like I had no idea, right? I everybody jumped onto Doge because that was kind of the first one that was reasonably priced.
Right?
Bitcoin, I think you could buy into it if you put in, let's say, $100. I think you had 1/17,000th of a Bitcoin at that point, right? If you put in $500, it was like 675th of a Bitcoin, right? If you put in 1,000, because at that time Bitcoin was $67,000 for a coin. So if you didn't have that kind of money to buy one coin, you bought into it, or you had a group of people that bought into it. So
And you should only spend what you can afford to lose or
absolutely,
in your budget. There's a lot of people that just invest $20 a week, whether it be into Bitcoin, XRP, whatever coin that
hmm
they feel conviction in. I mean, and that's a great way to dollar cost average too, because
sure,
the market is volatile. Bitcoin was up to, I believe it was 126,
yeah, it was,
right?
yeah,
But
and that's
now
when everybody kind of sold it, right? Because if you bought it at
kind of.
68,
It kind of did a sidewards action and then started dipping.
because
And
that's
then
when
sidewards channeled and then dipped.
Yeah, so it was funny because producer Michael, the guy I mentioned, he when it got to that price, he
Hmm.
was happy that because I mean, I'm sure producer Michael probably bought 70 or 80 Bitcoin, right? The guy's got $100,000 to just play with. So I'm sure he
Right.
bought probably four or five of them at $500,000. So when it got to the 123, I'm sure he was like, this is great. But then when it plummeted, right, when it kind of went sideways and then dipped, I think when it started dipping, that's when most people were like, oh, I don't know if this is going to hold. I'm going to sell. So he always joked around that he took a loss on it, but I don't know what the
Right.
loss was.
But
But
then
that's
you
kind
have
of where,
people like Michael Saylor and his company's strategy that are heavily invested into Bitcoin. I want to say it's 770,000 Bitcoins.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of that, they borrowed money to buy that. So
Sure.
he's sweating a little bit right now.
Yeah, and it goes in waves, right? Because it went as low as 26,000, it went up to 134,000 at I think at its peak. So I mean, it's always averaged around 60 to 67,000 for a coin. But I think that like in the grand scheme of things, I think because of the way it's so unstable, I think that's kind of the way that I think that it's where most people get nervous. It's like any other investment, right? Whether it be real
Well, no,
estate.
it's not like any other investment. The stock market is a little more stable. The crypto market is a lot more volatile.
Sure. So, but the thing is though, is that it's still an investment, right? Like
Right.
you're buying into something that you don't have, right? You all you have is a wallet where the coin is at, and you have access to it, right? You can trade it, you can buy things. There's a free market with Bitcoin and crypto, but it's like any other investment. It's going to go up and it's going to go down, right? So whether you buy, now the amount that it might go up and down is a lot different, right? You said it's more volatile, it's more
It's a lot
unstable,
more volatile.
but you look at an investment from anything else, you're taking a risk. It's all risk reward. So
Right.
whether it's Bitcoin or stock options or dividends, you're kind of in that market. Obviously you know a lot more about it because you were more heavily into it, but it's like any other market that you buy into, right? Whether it's cars or whether it's houses, right? You buy a car and you keep it as an investment. In 30 years from now it might gain you 30 or 40,000 more. If the car goes under and nobody wants it, then it's a hunk of metal, you're scrapping it. So it's like anything else. It's just kind of as it's there. What's been your experience though with it? Have you I know you said that you kind of sold off a bunch, but tell us like how you came to that. What you did.
No, I started just like everybody else when I got back into it. I dove into every meme coin that some dude was promoting here on TikTok. I've been rugged more.
Hmm.
But that's basically where the journey starts for most people. You get rugged a lot, you learn,
Hmm.
you grow, you research. We stress a lot in the community to DYOR. TikTok is great, but you're not going to get all the details that you need. Some subjects are going to be glazed over, and you want to go and you want to get the juicy stuff. So you want to take notes. I used to take notes when I was moderating. I
Hmm.
would write down a word, and then I would go look it up later. Um, then you kind of grow from there and
Sure.
you get a little more educated. You know a little bit more about what you're doing. Your plays are a little more strategic versus a lottery ticket.
Hmm.
And then you get to a point. I mean, Cosmic Crypto is currently in here, which is a good friend of mine, and he is an amazing creator.
Sure. And I'm sure he's probably
Um,
got a lot to say, in this.
and he's much more educated than I am. I never claim to be an expert. I do the best I can.
Sure.
But as I was growing, I was moderating. And then when I was moderating for so many people, I really didn't have time to DYOR. So
Hmm.
I would just be writing stuff down and listening very closely in the lives to what people were saying. And shame on me, I might have not gave 100% factual information from time to time because I had bits and pieces of it. But now I've got plenty of time to research and
Sure. So where do you think it's at now? Do you think it's something that you'll continue to invest in, or do you think it's something that's just so unstable
I
that you're
think I'm
not
waiting for
safe?
the floor.
Okay.
I, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, so nobody take this as financial
No,
advice.
no, I'm just curious as to.
Um, I don't think we're at the floor yet. I think we're just above the floor. I think there's one more fallout coming before it's blue light special prices.
Okay. At that point, when that time happens, is that when you're going to kind of sink your teeth into it and start really investing then? Yeah,
I'm
Bella
not
Star.
waiting for XRP to go back down below a dollar.
Yeah, I'm seeing some of the comments scroll through. And like I said, I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination. I'm just having conversation. I've invested so little in it. I don't even think I invested $100 in crypto over everything, right? Um, I have stuff through my job that deferred comp that they
Mhm.
invest in much more stock options than I have. So I'm very newbie to the crypto community, even though I've had them for now over a year and a half. I my money into it when I can, and I buy a couple bucks here and there. So I think maybe overall I've invested $100, give or take around there. I have not had a very big portfolio in the crypto market at all, and I have never invested in Bitcoin a bit because I just don't have that kind of cash flow
Well,
to make it
you can always
even.
dollar cost average it. Throw $5.
Yeah,
One day Bitcoin is 100,000, the next day it's 50. You're averaging your price
sure.
for Bitcoin. It's no
Yeah.
different than if you fill up your gas and then you total it at the end of the month to get your average price.
Mhm. Yeah, so that obviously makes sense, and you watch it probably much more closely than I do. I check it pretty much once a month. I'm sure you probably check it daily, so you know you're probably much more involved than I am. So moving on from crypto, right? We kind of talked about this. Now with your kind of goals on TikTok, is this something that you obviously want to make a career for yourself? Is that, do you want to be an influencer? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you want to be like, what is your goal with the TikTok community? Like, what ultimately would you want out of this?
Well, I want to do Vanders Media. I
Okay.
want to get to a point where I have shows and I have a big enough plethora of people that I can help them find somebody for a guest spot,
Hmm.
on TikTok and help grow their network, the community,
Sure.
not just the crypto community. Like I am very connected elsewhere on TikTok as well, but
Right. So is that more content creation or is that more like advice? Or do you want to be like an actual media outlet or like what is the kind of plan or is it all of the above?
everything.
Okay.
It's all of the above. I don't want to use the word agency because it's not an
I
agency.
correct. Right.
I'm at first here, like, I'm not taking any financial gain at the beginning.
Hmm.
Because, I don't want it to be a conflict of interest with the agency that I am
Sure.
part of here,
Absolutely.
MVP. Um, but I want it to be where creators can come and network and get people for the shows like yours. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm looking for this type of person. This is the kind of show I want to do. Boom, here you go. Here's the person.
Correct. And I'll be honest, right? Like you're kind of the anomaly for me because I haven't really had anybody like specifically that wants to use social media as their kind of platform for growth. Obviously, the people that I have on my podcast and have had on have been my friends, right? They're easy to reach out to. I'm a big music fan, so I have a lot of bands. I'm a wrestling fan, so I have some wrestlers. I like, art, so I have a lot of comic books, a lot of writers, but like you're kind of the first person that's using TikTok as a platform to grow, which is kind of what piqued my interest with you because it's such a, you know, platform of growth, right? And TikTok's been around for a while, but you start to see people now using this as a real structure, right? It's a real platform to grow on. And it really is a business that you can create here for yourself if you use it correctly. And that's kind of where I wanted to, kind of flow into next is that like we talked about the power of networking, right? And reaching out and meeting people. Your growth on here has been self grown, right? You've reached out, you've networked, you've done very well for
I've
yourself.
worked my ass off on this end.
Correct. So tell people what it actually takes, like the amount of effort you put into this, the time it took, the consumption, the thought, like kind of give a breakdown to people that might want to start a platform on TikTok, what they would do. Now, obviously, I'm not saying what you did is going to work for everybody else, but kind of walk us through what you did for growth.
So I constantly was trying to get to know people. I'd meet people in a live, or the host would mention somebody and I would go check out their TikTok. I would reach out. I'd watch their lives. I'd try to get up on the panel to be able to talk to them, get to know them. I mean, you're not, nobody's going to hand you a list of names and say, you need to be connected to all these people to get to what you want.
Hmm.
You're going to have to go, you're going to have to do the grunt work. Like I said earlier, that none of this is easy. Like I've my peeps that are here in chat can tell you, Francesca's always online. Francesca's always available. She's supporting, checking out everybody's videos, their lives, sharing it out to people. But I will say one thing that I didn't care for here on TikTok was the follow for follow lives.
Hmm.
Because if you're really looking to build and you're trying to build a certain thing, going to the follow for follow, you're not really gaining the audience that you're looking for.
So I find that to be 1,000% correct, right? So I jumped into the lives when I first started of people that, like I said, piqued my interest. So musicians was a big one, right? I'd always look for different musicians that were out there that were in the hard rock and heavy metal community, right? Those are my peeps, right? So then I went from there to wrestling groups, right? Because I liked wrestling. So people that would talk about, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and AEW. So that was kind of where I started following different people and stuff. And then they would follow me back. But then the big one for me was other podcast groups, which was a huge help because I found like-minded individuals who would say, listen, I had this person on as a guest. They're always interested in doing podcasts. Would you like their contact? And I would say yes. And then they would send me their email or their TikTok link. And then it was my job to follow up, but they kind of opened that door for me, right? The gate kind of was a little bit open and then it was for me to walk through it. But those were huge for me, right? So the podcast groups were one of my favorites because it was just like-minded people, and I did find a lot of stay-at-home moms, right? That's a big one, right? They have a lot of time to with their kids, and so they would have other moms come on and talk about what they do, what deals they find, where they go for groceries, how they cut and coupon, right? So it was a
Right.
big thing for me. So I found a lot of that was a good network. With the groups that you've been in, have you formed like genuine friendships with people, or is it just
Yeah.
kind of a TikTok community?
Oh yes. A lot of genuine
Okay,
friendships. There's people that I talk to every day. Like I said, Cosmic is pretty much one of them. I got a few other people in here, Mother of Dragons, Bellstar. Those are people I talk to all the time. There's several people that I actually talk on the phone daily with.
hmm,
It's not just TikTok. I mean, those I consider more of my like TikTok besties.
right.
Let's say. But I'm in contact with everybody every day that is from those base groups. I check out their content, chit chat maybe on the side. I've got, before I started TikTok, I only had really one friend from around the world in England. Now I've got
Sure.
friends in Australia, France,
Right.
Germany, everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
it's a great thing, right? And so, I guess we're so even yeah, Bellstar said we're global, right? So I've met, like I said, some people that are across the seas, right? I've met people from the Middle East, I've met people from the sub-Asian countries, and it is a great community for that. When you set your base now, is TikTok is kind of your thing, right? You're looking for Vanders Media. When you're reaching out to people, are you looking for a certain demographic of people, or are you open to people that have different walks of life, different backgrounds, different beliefs, or are you kind of like streamlined? Because obviously, I don't really talk politics or religion on my show, but a lot of those groups are, you're like, if you're in that network, you're in that network and you kind of don't ever transition out of it. And for
no.
me, I
Nope.
I want everybody to
Oh, come
be,
on.
I want everybody for me to be kind of universal, right? So I just like having the idea that we're all in this together. So that's kind of my take on it. Is that yours, or are you kind of more streamlined to group of people that are trying to make it, or are you just kind of open to anybody who wants your help?
I'm pretty much open to anybody that wants my help. I mean, I do have those three main categories right now, but as I'm here longer on TikTok, I'm always growing and opening up to more and more different communities. Like I said, I want the brand to be
Hmm.
able to, you come to me, what kind of person you want? I want a band guy.
Okay.
Done. Hold on. Here's five of them. Which one would you like me to reach out to?
Okay. So yeah, so you're basically pretty much open to the prospect of having, all kind of different backgrounds and demographics then, correct, as opposed to, because there are people on here that just want certain people, right? So I'm all about, right, like, Bellastar just said, like, one world, one love, right? But there are people that only want bands, or they only want singers, or they only want artists. They're not interested in a podcaster. They're not interested in a ball player. They're not interested in an athlete, right? They're not interested in the movie stars that come on, right? So there are people that come on here that people are like, well, I'm not focused on them. All I want is this type of person, and this is what I'm interested in, and I don't want anything else. And then there's other people that, like me, like I'm like, I'll hop into anybody's live, right? If they're interesting and I find them cool and they're down to earth and they're out there, like I'm in, right? But there are, you know, a lot of people on here that if you don't fit the category that you're watching, you're kind of typecasted, right? You're the outcast now. And it happens, right? Let's face
Right.
it, it's social media.
Right.
You pick and choose who you want, right? If I come in as a podcaster and people hate podcasts and they kick me out, what can I do, right? I can't change their mind on a live, right?
Right, pretty much. And you know, there's always hidden gems on here.
Hmm.
I've found quite a few people that I was like, man, if I just like marketed and promoted, you could be something on here.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, right? Because you think that, somebody sewing a blanket or crocheting something wouldn't be something that people would be interested in. And they might have a couple hundred people watching them make a
Right,
blanket, right? And it's not my thing, right? I don't find that interesting. But it's weird the communities of people that support other people in here, right? And the
right.
different things that they do and the different things that they have, right? And obviously, one of my communities is watches, right? I'm a big watch guy, so I'm in the watch community. But a lot of my other community is the pew pew community, right? So you
Yeah.
can't say the G word on TikTok, or else you get, but a
Oh,
lot
you
of the
know, you
groups
can't
that are
even readjust like you're sitting, or
right.
it thinks you're doing something else.
Yeah. So a lot of that stuff can't be said on this platform, or on a different platform it can be. So you kind of got to be, interested in what you're doing, right? So I know that there's a lot of, in the tactical community on TikTok, they kind of, reach as far as they can go, let's just say, right? But it's kind of nice because one of the other things that I'm into, I can't do that on here. So I
Right.
have to use a different platform in order to do those reviews, or, show interest in that category versus watches I could talk about all day long on here. And so can the other watch community people. But the other community, you can't.
I'll have to connect you. There's one person on Snapchat. I'll have to connect you with him. He has a lot of watches.
Yeah. I love so
Showing me
and
the other night, he's like, I got Rolexes, I got
yeah.
this.
And so again, that's kind of how, like, producer Michael, that's how I kind of got focused on him, was because he had a big watch collection. He's a watch guy. And
Right.
so from him, I got to Kevin O'Leary and then Teddy Baltazar. And then now I've gone to watch shows and stuff like that in the community. And I've met a bunch of people and I've had a couple on my podcast. But like, that community is awesome for me. Like, I love the watch community. And now recently, one that I've gotten into is record collecting, right? Collecting vinyl again.
You know that's coming back.
It's huge. So it is a
Like my
big
little
community.
brother, who's like 20 something years old, is like, oh, you have any
I,
old records?
I so I just started. I probably have about 100 records now, and I said I was only going to get like 15 or 20 when I started, and it is like an addiction. I can't stop. It was like, so vinyl never really went away. That is true, right? CDs were a thing, cassettes were a thing, but now like the vinyl is back. And like when I restarted my collection in music, I said, well, I'm going to start collecting vinyl. And now that community for me is enormous.
Well,
So
if you notice, it's just like fashion. Fashion comes
sure,
back.
retro's in,
Like
right?
the
Always
70s,
is.
bell bottoms were cool for a hot minute. And then, now it's like that very tight straight leg from the
Yeah.
1920s, which I can't wait for that fad to be over because they don't account for anybody with hips or ass.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Fashion is kind of a weird thing, but the '90s is back now, right? So it's the neons are back, and the starter jackets are. I just saw a
Right.
thing for starter jackets. Like I had one in high school,
Well, like the members only jacket,
members only, right?
pretty much never goes out of style. It's
Yeah,
always paired with something else.
yeah, and those were awesome, right? Those are the staples of the '80s, right?
Yeah.
Was members only. That was awesome, right? So yeah, so starter jackets, right, are kind of trending now, but I can't get over how much they are. They're like $200 for a pullover starter jacket.
Exactly.
Back in the
In
day,
the
it was like
80s.
$30. Yeah, varsity jackets I don't think ever went out of style, right? So you got the wool with the leather. That's kind of always been in fashion. And again, that's kind of the staple of any school, right? So high school, college is
Letterman
always going to
jacket.
have
Yeah.
a Letterman jacket, right? Or a varsity jacket. So those I don't think ever went out. Those are like always were a staple of that kind of generational thing, which is awesome. But then like the biker jackets are coming back now, right? Like for a long time, the motorcycle jackets were a thing of the '80s, right? Every '80s rocker wore one, right?
80s, 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like the trend again to have the Z zip motorcycle jacket where it's so things come and go, right?
Right.
It's always fun. So now let's focus again on what you had with I know we talked about the TikTok and the community and stuff like that and growth. Where do you see TikTok going in the next few years? Do you think it's going to be a stable platform? Do you think it's going to get banned again? Do you think it's going to stick around? Like what are your thoughts on it?
I think it'll still be here. Do I think there'll be another one that comes up and just like TikTok replace this and Facebook, Snapchat? They all kind of like one up the game, and then there's a new platform that comes out that kind of does it all.
Hmm.
So I don't know. TikTok might have a run for its money in the next 10 years. There might be another platform that
Yeah,
deplatforms that.
it's weird because like, obviously it's the trend now, right? Like TikTok is the big one, right? Facebook is more for your real friends, right? In your
Do you
business.
remember MySpace?
MySpace was great. That was my favorite.
MySpace taught us all to be like graphic designers and write
Absolutely, because you had to put
code.
your own code in, right? You had to put code in for background, code for music, code for videos. It was awesome. It was most people's first introduction into computers,
Person.
right?
Yeah. So
You
you
had
had MySpace and it was replaced by Facebook.
right.
Facebook became the big conglomerate. And then you had like Instagram come out and then Snapchat, which Facebook now owns
Instagram,
Instagram,
right.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But there were other apps that came out that were people were kind of going away from Facebook.
Hmm.
Um, and then what was it, Vine back in the day?
Yeah, Vine, Kick was
Vine
another one.
and Kick.
Um,
And now you've got TikTok, and then all of a sudden, when
yeah.
TikTok was
And
starting to
then
come up, Facebook all of a sudden had Facebook Reels and
yeah,
trying
and
to
then you had
compete.
Tumblr for a while. That was another one. Reddit never caught on really,
What is
you
it,
know.
Clapper?
Yeah.
Um,
What
there's
was the
so
one
many.
that was like Snapchat, but you could have groups of people? Something House. Was it Fun House or it was really big during COVID.
I
And it
think
was
it was Funhouse,
was that Fun House? Because that was kind of like the pre-snap where you could send videos.
yeah.
It was kind of like the pre, but it never took off. It just kind of ended. And I don't know what happened to it, but it was really cool because it was
I
you
believe
could
it
have
was
four
called
or six
Funhouse.
people on one phone call.
Yeah, I believe it was called Funhouse. One of my girlfriends on here, Laura, used to host a love show on
Yeah, it
there.
was pretty cool. It was kind of, and then it kind of just disappeared, and then Snap became kind of the big thing, and now it's
Which
kind of
Snap is still huge in its
yeah,
own right. But like I said, each one just kind of ups the game,
right.
and
And I
the
think
older
Snap,
ones have to
yeah,
create
and Snap is a
content.
good community because it also transcends cultures, right? So if you want to make a phone call to somebody in Africa, you can do it on Snap. You got to get WhatsApp to do it. Otherwise, if you're trying to do it other than Zoom or StreamYard, if you're trying to have, but you could phone call anybody in the world on Snap, which is kind of cool, as kind of a third party within itself. So it's kind of neat. House Party was the app.
I
That's
love
it.
Snap for all the filters. I'm sorry, I am a filter bitch.
Yeah,
I love my filters. And I think it's just because I'm from like that 90s era where
yeah.
like the Photoshop and everything. I
Well,
mean,
you know
I
what's
can do
crazy, right?
photo editing and
Right.
this
So
is oh, great.
So
This
I'm an
saves me
I'm an
enough
80s kid,
hours.
right? So I 80s 90s, right? I was born in 1980, but like I kind of my teens were 90s, right? Do you remember when people used to do the glamour photos where they
The
would drop
glamour shots.
yes, where they would drop the sparkles behind you and they would kind of implant
And
everything
they
like
were like
all you
all
did
in the
was sit there.
bustiers and
Yeah, and you would just go, and like men would wear it like a shirt and tie, but it would come out where you could look like a 1920 gangster, or you could
yeah.
kind of do the sunset behind you, or like the glamour shots are like the big thing. That's all these
You
filters
could look
are.
like an old Western
Yeah,
cowboy. Yeah.
right. They were just glamour shots. It was kind of like the big thing, and now it's like all like filters are like the new version of that, which is kind of bizarre because and those were expensive, right? When you went to take a glamour shot, they weren't cheap because you had to buy the packet. If you remember,
Yeah.
it was
And
like
you
eighty
needed
nine
the
ninety nine for like
background and
right,
the outfit. And
yeah,
it was like a real life glamour
right.
shot. I
It
told
was
you.
it was kind of cool, but like now the filters kind of just do that for you, right? You can do whatever
Right?
you want.
Come
And
on.
that's the one thing like with TikTok. I used to do the green screen, but I hated it glitching, right? Every time you moved, it was kind of pixelated. So I was like, I don't want that. I'm just going to do a real background. So this is it, right? So this
Right.
is real for me. So it's not a green screen, but it's kind of neat that when you had it, it gave you the option to do that, right? You had that kind of cool motion that you can go through.
And also, like, even apps like this, like TikTok, like we're live right now. I have a soft filter on, I don't have a heavy one. All it's doing is putting a little illumination on my
Hmm.
face. Sometimes I do use a contrast filter, and it'll just make like my cheeks darker everywhere where I shaded darker.
Yeah, I don't
And
think I've ever
it,
used one, to be honest. I
I
don't know.
don't like
I've
the
never
ones
dabbled.
that completely change my face.
Okay.
Like those, I don't like to use.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used a filter since I've had my background where it is now. Because if I do, then it contrasts the light. Like if I turn the filter on, it fades it out. Or if I have to turn the lights on to dim it. So this is kind of just how I've always am. It's just me. This is how I roll. So,
Right.
but it's interesting, right? That
Well, you've got a
because
lot less makeup on than I do.
yeah, that's true. So, but what because I personally like, when TikTok said it was going away, it actually kind of got me a little excited, right? Like for a little bit, because I was on the bandwagon for a long time, right? As those of you know me that are old school with me that have kind of been the issue for me was I put a lot of time into TikTok where I was going live for 7, 8, 9 hours a night, right? And I was putting in that time and I just wasn't seeing the results. And I was kind of like, a lot of people get, I don't want to say suckered because that's not the right word, but they dedicate a lot of time to this and the dividends don't pay off for them. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of, you have to find the balance. And that's kind of where I want to lead into next. How's your balance with TikTok? I know you said you go live, you mod during the day, you have your own shows, but how much time would you say weekly that you average dedicate to this app? And be real, like if it's a lot, I'd stay at. Is it
A lot. I
okay?
spend a lot of my time.
Sure.
I'm not always actively looking at the screen. Like if I have like per se this
Right.
vlog that goes on, I may set it on the phone and listen to it like a podcast while I'm on the computer or working or doing something
Sure.
else. Um, but
But in the long run, do you think that it's going to pay off for you, or do you think that it's just going to be time that you could have used
for
elsewhere?
me, I think it is because I'm
So
not
you think it
using
will?
this as a like I think I'm going to have a million followers kind of thing.
Right.
I'm
And that's
using
the
it
goal, right?
more.
Everyone wants to hit it big.
I mean, I create stuff. I do a lot of stuff with AI
Right.
based on my facial structure. I make characters and
Yeah.
No,
And you're
I
very
do.
good at that because like I use AI now just in its base form to edit my videos, right? So I'll throw the video into AI like ChatGPT and I'll be like, find any inconsistencies, find any glitches, and then basically it tells me that it looks good, and then they don't find any or it fixes them, and then I just upload it. So it makes my life a lot easier now because before I used to watch them all.
There's a lot you can do with
It is
AI.
pretty good, I will say.
And anybody who says, if you just do AI creation, people don't get that and they don't like that. There's no study out there that proves that. But there are studies out there that say that 60% of companies use AI for their
Sure.
marketing, for business plans. So
Yeah,
anybody who tells
absolutely.
you the other thing hasn't done the research.
Yeah. No, and I like I said, I use it to edit my videos now. Like I just my last two were done with AI. I throw it in ChatGPT, I download the file, I upload it, and I say find any inconsistencies or edit my video, and it basically does it for me. So once it comes out, it says you're fine or change this and this. I go back and I change. It tells me the timestamp where I need to change it. Do it. Done. 20 minutes.
I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl. Did you watch it this year?
I didn't actually. I went to a concert instead. I did
So
not watch it.
I actually watched it with my brothers, and there was quite a few commercials that I looked at them and said, "That's AI."
Hmm.
And they said, "That is not. Those are real people." I'm like, "No." And I started to point out the inconsistencies with the background
Right.
and the beer or whatever that was in the
Yeah.
commercial. And they're like, "How do you know all that?" I'm like, "Because I create this stuff." Like,
Right.
you guys don't
Yeah.
even know. You're watching the Super Bowl and you're watching AI generated content that looks like real people.
Yeah.
Now,
You
I
know, in
do
movies, I've
know
been
that
using
there's
that
a
for
dark side to AI. There's people that use it
sure.
for deception. There's people that use it,
Yeah,
um,
there's
to attack other people and in a more toxic environment, which that side of AI I don't care for. But if you're using it for
sure.
positive things and to
Right.
better your life or to learn something, I mean, there's quite a few times, not now, but months ago, that I
Yeah.
would pop a word into ChatGPT that I heard in a crypto live, and it would, here you go, here's sites you can go to
Sure.
learn more.
Yeah, and every search now says it's generated by AI, right? It helps you find what you're looking for because it's a little bit more accurate in the descriptions of what you're doing. And again though, that's with anything though, right? Like people are mean and evil in this world, right? So
Well,
they'll
Google,
cyberbully you, they'll do, there's a lot of stuff that happens within that, platform. So, yeah, some stuff is used for good, some stuff is used for bad, but I think that's in anything, right? Like that's
well,
any walk of life,
no, it's no
so
different than your pew pew. Some
sure.
people use
Right.
that for bad, and some people
I
use
know,
it
right?
for good. So it's the yang to the yang.
Right. So now that you've established yourself on TikTok and you're growing and you're networking and you're meeting people and you're doing that, when you get to the point where you're happy or you're content with what you're doing, is that something that you want to stick with, or is that something like you would get to the point where you might want to try to like, maybe split and do something different, or like what's your focus like long term? Have
No,
you
I'm
thought
always
like that
going to
far
be,
ahead?
I'm sorry. I'm always going to be networking. I'm always going to be grinding because the
Okay.
minute you stop is the minute that you miss out.
Hmm.
And by that, I mean, if I'm going to go into almost like this talent thing, if you're not actively on here, if you're not actively looking for them, you're not going to find them. But
Okay.
I do know at some point, if I scale it large enough, I will have to hire people to help me.
Okay. So that's what's going to lead into my next question is now this is an actual business, right? So you're basically an entrepreneur now, and you've created this from the ground up. So when you get to that point when you scale it, you've thought about that then, right? Like what happens if, right? Because we all
Well,
dream big, right? You have
anytime
to
you're
dream big.
creating a business, you need to think about, okay, what do I need now? What do I
Hmm.
need in 3 months? What do I need in 6 months? What do I need in a year? Possibly, what do I need in 2 years? What do I need in 5 years? What do I need in 10 years? Granted, the things that are further in the future, you're not like, oh God, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Sure.
But you're prepared in your business model that okay, at some point, I'm going to have to step back a little bit and hire somebody else to do it so I can focus on the
Hmm.
core of the company.
Now, on your journey on TikTok, have you had any of people that mod for you help you out? Like, if they kind of like, do you kind of use them as a base, or because my mod is Ellie, right? So Ellie's kind of been with me since I've kind of been started this on TikTok, and she's been a huge help because she's given me bands. She's given me people to reach out to say, hey, listen, I met this person. I told them about you. They said reach out. So that's kind of happened with the Shatter the Moon, which was one of the bands I had on from Vegas. She knew those guys, and she was kind of hanging out with them in different stuff, and brought them to me. So like I use my connections pretty well. I try to take advantage of when people are trying to help.
So, like Bellstar, Mother of Dragons are two that are here. I'm not sure if Jesse's in the room, but they're the ladies that I do Queens of the Chain with.
Okay.
And from day one, I told them I'm only one person. If you know somebody, let me know. Granted, I'll reach out. I'll
Hmm.
do the interview before the interview type thing.
Right.
Um, and ultimately, I'll make a decision on who the next guest is. But I don't, I've always told them, this is our show. Like, it's not just it's ours. We do
Hmm.
it together. So if you have any input or you have somebody you want on as a guest, you've done the
Sure.
footwork for me. I just got to go there and get to
Right.
know the person if I don't know them already, which I've had other people recommend people for certain things. So,
Sure.
yes and no. But my mod team is amazing.
Yeah,
There are,
that's so I don't have a team. I just have Ellie, but she's awesome, right? She's been with me since the beginning. So it's been really kind of cool that like we connected via TikTok, and then we've kind of had this friendship outside of TikTok, and then we kind of have this kind of unique thing where like we kind of bounce ideas off of each other. So she's been a pretty like pivotal part of the podcast for a while for me on TikTok anyways, right? YouTube, it's kind of hard, and on Facebook, because other than sharing, there's not really much you can do. But like when I go live on TikTok, I have another buddy that I used to go with on Thursday nights, and it was just all the BS in the chat that was just kind of like, so she would knock that out for me real quick. So it was awesome because without it, I'd have to try
yeah,
to do it on my
I
own.
don't
And
really have that problem with the BS.
yeah,
Comments there and then it's gone.
right.
So,
And if you don't have somebody that's helping you do that, it's very difficult, right? Because the more spam you allow when you're live, then the more spam that it's like it infiltrates, it just kind of grows.
oh,
So if you don't knock it out real quick, then you have other spammers that come on, and then your live is just messed up with people talking all kinds of ridiculousness while you're trying to focus on people that actually want to ask a serious question because they can't.
right?
So,
And a moderator actually does more than just control the chat. They're watching who's in the room.
mhm,
They're chatting with chat. They're keeping the conversation going. I mean, blocking people is just part
sure,
of the process.
right,
There's so many more things. They're paying attention to what's going on with the
right,
host, seeing where they're at in the show. Like I said, I'm on for the breakdown.
sure,
I'm putting in there, welcome to the breakdown,
right,
episode blah blah blah. The current topic is.
okay,
That way, if you just came in and the person is in the middle of a topic, you know what's going on. Oh, okay, they're talking about politics. Okay.
hmm,
Or hey, they're talking about crypto or the news
right,
or political news.
sure.
Uh,
So
so
how long
yeah,
have you been on TikTok? When did this journey start? Like when did you first kind of? Because I'm
20.
new to this. Because I started in 24, so I'm
I
like this isn't like a thing that I've been doing for years and years and years. I'm a newbie at this still.
mean, I think I've had my TikTok for years, but
Okay,
consistently and doing what I'm doing about a year.
okay. So I've kind of been the same way. So I started my podcast in 2024, but I didn't use TikTok other than just kind of a to watch videos, right? It wasn't like I didn't take it seriously until like I actually dabbled in this. And then
Right.
people were telling me like if you want to have a successful podcast, you have to get on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to. They're like, you have to. it's a must. You need to use this. And so when I was very, very hesitant when I first did it, and it's worked out well for me, but like I
Yeah.
still kind of have that like in the back of my mind where it's like if I just were able to establish myself on another platform, then this would kind of I wouldn't need it as much as I do now. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I don't know, I have mixed feelings with it
Yeah.
as a podcaster, right? Not as a networker or like trying to, get people on my show, but strictly as me doing a podcast, it really hasn't helped me that much. So I'm kind of a little
It's like a
indifferent
yin and
about it.
yang situation. I tell everybody, like, you're not going to go like this overnight.
Right.
That's a one in a million shot on TikTok. It doesn't happen to everybody. But you always hear about the one. It's kind of like crypto with the guy who made a
Right.
million dollars.
Yeah. And
And
it's
it's like,
always
oh,
like, the viral videos, right,
no.
are huge, right? Because people who never had social media that put a video out and it goes viral, all of a sudden their name recognition, right? So like for example, like the Hawk Tuah girl, right? Like
Oh, God.
she makes one statement in Tennessee drunk in Nashville, and now
Right,
she's a global superstar because of that, right? So like that's the anomaly, right? That's the one fish in the barrel that went huge,
right.
right? So like had she had not said that, nobody have known who she was the next day,
Nobody.
right?
So,
So that's
and you probably know being on TikTok, like you'll have a video, you put it out, it does nothing, but then you check it like month, 3 months later, and you're like, holy shit, it's got
yeah.
25 views.
So the big one that was my biggest one was the FYP when it first started. And it was you join mine and I join yours, and we kind of do the FYP train, is what it was called. So basically, it was like anybody who hops on your FYP and basically pins FYP or hashtags it, that would help their video grow and it would help your video grow. And so my follow train was my biggest one because that was the trend. And even now I still get people that it comes across where they're on it. And that was probably last year's biggest trend was the FYP train. So
Right.
that was my biggest one. And I put it out with, just some picture that I didn't even really think about. I was just maybe if I would have focused a little bit more or maybe put a little bit more effort into it, it would have gotten bigger. But yeah, that was like my viral one is that the FIP train was the big one for me.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I spend a lot of time on every post. I didn't
Sure.
used to. I just used to throw stuff together. I've done the lip sync. I've
Yeah.
done the sound bite over the top, and
So you follow
I
the
did
trends
that.
then.
I did that for a while and was like, this is not my vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to do what TikTok wants me to do. I'm here to do what I want to do, and
Right.
if TikTok likes it, they'll promote it.
Sure. So do you
It's
follow the
a
trends
different.
like what's going on, or do you kind of just not pay attention to that, or do you
I don't
utilize
really
that?
pay attention to it
Because I
because
don't anymore. I used to all the
I
time
was
though.
always taught to be a follow, not to be a follower, but be a leader.
Yeah.
If something's not like if you can create a space that's yours, your creativity, and be different than other people, that's what's going to drive people to your page.
Yeah.
Being a carbon copy or any kind of copy of somebody else,
Sure.
you're not going to get the kind of traffic that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You
So
need
my
your
biggest right.
individuality and your creativity.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is like I pick my own music when I post stuff, and it's usually like hard rock and heavy metal bands. So it doesn't usually fare well because it's not the popular like dance or trendy or rap stuff that's like big. So that's what kind of hurts me because they'll like I'll post a video and they'll put a song that makes no sense to it, and I'm like I don't want that. I want this. But then I don't. It's not going to do well because it's not the song that TikTok says I should put. It's
Or it's the perfect song. You're like, man, I didn't even think about that one.
yeah.
But that's what it is, post.
So because most of mine are never that way. I don't think I've ever come across where TikTok's actually they did one
Really?
time. Yeah, it was a Nine Inch Nails song, and it went pretty well with it. But most of it is not really my style.
Oh,
So I don't
wow.
really kind of I don't do the dance in this. So I usually just put something overtone. heavier.
Hopefully, because at the 90s and the late 80s are coming back. You know, the hair bands will be back
I
soon.
love the hair bands. That was my jam. That was like my first. So my first cassette that I ever bought was Slaughter Stick It To You, and my first CD I ever bought was Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction. So
So, a little fun fact about Fran. She's interconnected with the Misfits.
okay,
And how that is through marriage. So Jerry only was married in to be my uncle
okay, awesome.
through family. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey.
I've been to a lot of heavy metal band
Yeah. The
shows.
Myth.
I mean, it'd been great now if they
Right.
were touring because I could go up in the opera box and
Yeah.
do
Well, they
backstage.
actually just got back together. They played Riot Fest in Chicago
Yes.
2 years ago. So that was Danzig with they had Dave Lombardo playing drums from Slayer. So that was pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
the and the Misfits are legendary, right? Like they're arguably the best punk band of all time.
Yes. I mean, Metallica's Enter the Sandman
Yeah.
is inspired by the Misfits.
Yeah. So it's a funny thing. They all tell the story about Cliff Burton wearing the Misfits shirt because when they saw the skull, no one knew who they were. And Cliff Burton says, "Listen, there's a punk band from New Jersey that I really love." And that's how, like, when he wore the Misfit shirt, that's what kind of blew them up in the 80s. But from the 70s, they were awesome. So, yeah, I was a huge Misfits fan. I still am. Like, I have all their albums. So,
You know, Jerry has since divorced the aunt, but
sure.
that's
Yeah.
okay. He still talks a lot with my mom and us, so
So then you were kind of then also somewhat then related to Doyle, right? Because they're brothers. Kind of, sort of. Because
I
Doyle,
don't really know Doyle very well.
because the only reason why is because I was a big fan of Arch Enemy, and so Alyssa White Glues became the singer of Arch Enemy, and her and Doyle started dating. I don't know if they still are or not, but
Right?
so that was kind of.
Yeah, I
But
don't know
then,
Doyle quite as well.
yeah.
But
Well,
you know,
it's
it was later in life. It wasn't like during their heyday.
sure. Yeah. So I actually was a big fan of the Misfits without Danzig too. Like I liked Michael Graves, so that was that era of the Misfits was kind of like what got me into them. Like when I was in high school, that 90s era Misfits was what I kind of knew them as, and then I went back to the Danzig Misfits. Obviously I had like Earth AD and the self-titled, but I didn't really know them as like when I saw the Misfits for the first time, it was with Michael Graves. So it was kind of a weird, yeah.
Yeah, not many people would think, oh yeah, Fran's connected to a punk band.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Any
but
any
yeah,
any
my
any other
brother
bands,
wasn't
or is
really
that it?
into it. Like he was into like the Misfits and who else was it? It was a bunch of Flaming Lips, maybe.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those were all like 90s bands, right? Like Sponge was a
Vanders.
big one, like
He used to make the like vest with all the
mhm.
patches on
Yeah,
it. He had the like leather jacket with all the patches on
right.
it. God, I'm trying to remember all the names on the patches and it's just escaping me right
Yeah.
now.
No, that's a big thing because I just made a post about that. There's a guy that was in Europe and he went to one of the bars and he actually said, "Come by and we'll sew patches on your jacket for you." And I was like, "Why don't they do that in the U.S.? That'd be cool, right? To go
Right?
get band patches and have them put on a jacket, right? Because it's kind of the big thing. Like I don't have one anymore, but I had a denim vest with all the patches. I had the Mayhem on
Okay.
the back, yeah, because you buy one back patch and then you put
Mhm.
everything else in between.
Or you do just over the shoulders patch and you put the smaller ones underneath.
Yeah.
I think that's what my brother did. He had like one patch that was just over the shoulders and they had a smaller towards the
So
bottom.
on my denim vest, I didn't have anything on the shoulders, but I drilled spikes. So back in the day when the Ellie was still on Belmont and Clark,
Mine was
I
like
had the mini
all
spikes
the way around.
on. I'm not all the way around. I think I had like four on each shoulder. So I kind of had the spikes, and then I had the back patch, and then I filled in everything else with the
Oh no, he went all the way around once upon a time and then went out and was like, now I remember why I didn't have them
right.
under. it.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, I mean, yeah, he had spikes everywhere, skulls.
yeah. Well, that's
You
kind of
don't
if you're into the
you
scene, that's
one?
kind of
I'm like, no, it's okay.
yeah. I went to see the Browning the other night at West Chicago Social Club.
Was that what you were
And
living?
yeah, and I could not get over how many people had those patch vests on again. I was like, this is kind of cool. I kind of want to do that again. I don't even know where mine's at. I haven't worn the thing in 20 years. I was still in high school when I had it. So,
Oh, like a Hope chest
yeah,
collection.
I don't even know if I still have it. I think I might have given it away to a buddy or something like that when I got to college. I don't even know if but I'm like, I was really just shocked at how many kids had them. I was like, that was like the trend when I was, a kid. And now it's coming back again, the resurgence of denim
Like
and patches.
the grunge era of the 90s is coming back.
Yeah, that killed me because like I said, I was a huge 80s heavy metal fan. But when I got to high school, like Nirvana was the band, right? And I never cared for Nirvana that much. They were okay, but they weren't my thing. Like Alice in Chains was more my speed. Soundgarden was my speed. So those were the bands that I listened to out of the grunge era. A lot of people were Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and like I never really cared for them. And I was a huge Mother Love Bone fan, which nobody really kind of knew about, but they were like the originators of the scene.
Right?
So yeah, that's
Yeah, I never really got into it, but I heard the music because through the wall,
yeah,
my
right.
brother was blaring it.
Nice. So out of everything we've kind of talked about, right? We'll kind of just bring it back to the beginning, right? Where could people find you if they wanted to like what are your handles on social media? I'll pin them in the post on YouTube just so everybody knows because it's kind of hard to do that now. I should have pre-pinned them on this, but
Not a big deal. Here on TikTok, it's Francheska Vanders. Just be careful because of being a part of the crypto community. There are a lot of fakes. Look for the profile that has Fran After Dark.
okay,
That's how I kind of DM for.
sure.
I can't say that word. Make myself different than the fakes.
Right.
So, but eventually they'll catch on, and then I'll have to change it again.
Mhm.
But I'm also on Snapchat. I believe that's Francesca Frisk. It's like Frisky with a Y, but no Y.
Okay.
And Facebook, I'm really not going to promote because I have it
Yeah,
set
I
private and
sure.
I don't normally add a bunch of people in there. That's kind of like where I go to hang out with the old queens and
Right.
friends
Now,
and
have you thought about doing the Facebook business page though? Because that does help. Just FYI.
maybe.
Yeah.
Let me get Vander's Media,
No.
going up and
Once you
off
do
the
that though,
ground
that's kind of a
and
big thing
hopefully
because if you focus,
Facebook.
yeah.
I'm also on X. It's Queens of CR. What is it? 64562.
Okay.
I can send it to you so you can
Yeah,
pin
link
it.
it to me so I can get because anybody watching this, like obviously I shared it out to a bunch of people and it's gonna go live on YouTube as soon as I get done with some stuff. So I'll link everything up in YouTube and I'll put all your handles there. And then I always tell everybody at the end of the lives to go to my YouTube channel because that's where it'll be. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows where they could find you in case they you want to network with you or you could help them in any way as far as guests and viewers go. And then, like I said earlier, I'll link you up with a few people that I think you'd fare well with on their podcast. So
Awesome.
yeah,
I'll send that over to you. Like I said,
perfect.
Facebook it's not really a platform I'm really
Sure,
on to do this with.
I'll
Not
get you.
right now. Maybe in the future on the
Yeah.
business page, but yeah, for now it's just basically TikTok, Snapchat, X, and Instagram, which I
Okay.
can do my Instagram, but I think we're connected on
Yeah, we
Insta.
are. I'll everything that I'm linked up with, I'll have. And like I said, I'll pin it all on the YouTube one. And then what I'd like to do down the road is I know you mentioned the trans type thing. Would we be able to get you back on and kind of walk us through your journey with that, like how that started and like I know it's personable, and I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of think that it's unique to itself. I wanted to not focus so much on that this episode because I wanted people to get to know you as a person and the person you are. But how would you be okay talking about the
Of
transformation and
course.
what made you?
Um,
Is that
un-
something we could?
Unfiltered and fabulous. We talk about it every week. We usually pick a
Okay,
topic. Like last week was perception. We did a whole
okay,
point of view on perception. I
okay.
don't run from it. It is on my profile. I do make
Sure.
videos from time to time expressing something that goes.
Yeah.
I did a a mirror video that I did a split
I just
face
think it's,
where I had like
yeah.
what I used to look like.
I would just want to pick your brain about like, from start to where you're at now and like, how the thought process became, thing. Like I said, I want to keep it positive though, right? Because I think it's awesome that you did it. You came out and, you're the person you are today, which is awesome. That's how I met you, right? So I didn't know that part of you until you told me, right? So to me, you were just a cool person. And that's what I connected with you on that level with. But, as you started telling me, I was like kind of interested in the journey. And I think a lot of other people would be too, that might not be able to ask the questions or want to, be that kind of dig that deep. But, I'd love to do that. But I wanted this episode and this podcast to get to know you and what you had going on and promoting your business and everything else. That kind of was secondary to me. It wasn't my primary focus. Everything I talked about today was because I want to promote you and where you're at now, which is awesome. So
Well, I will say if it gets a little too personal, I may say no comment.
I won't go that deep. I just kind of want to, talk about just kind of the level and the, what made you and kind of stuff like that. Nothing really in depth,
Oh, cool.
but I
I'm
think it'd just be
excited.
interesting because, like I said, I met you as Francesca, right? And that's kind of how I knew you, and that's what I wanted people to see, right? The person sitting in next to me now. I didn't want them to focus on the past, and then, I kind of wanted them to see you the way I saw you, which is the person you are now, which is awesome. So.
And I'll tell you, most trans people don't focus on the past.
Sure.
Pretty much when we start transitioning, that old person that we were is
Hmm.
right to us.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll save that for the next one. I just, it'd be cool. But I just want to thank you for being a guest on now and kind of giving us an insight onto what you're doing and how you navigated social media and networking. Because obviously your path was a lot different than mine, but we kind of found each other, right? And so now we're friends and we get to help each other out. So that's what
And
it's
we're
all
close
about.
by each other. You're like, what, 45 minutes from
Yeah,
me?
but I'm close. So yeah. So maybe the
Uh,
next one we do, we'll do together live and in person, right? So, but yeah, it was awesome. So, like I said, just I just want to show people that the power of networking is real, right? If you meet somebody and you connect with somebody, there's a little risk involved in it, but the payoff could be really big, right? So
right.
that's kind of, we don't know what the future holds and we don't know where this episode's going to go, but it's going to archive itself and people that, you can kind of transition from, meeting somebody that you wouldn't really ever kind of talk to versus where you're at, right? Meet at Dunkin' Donuts, right? But, but I've done a
That's
few
a
in person.
Fran cut.
Yeah.
Fran lives at Duncan.
So, yeah. So that's the thing though, right? It's just cool. And that's why, I'm glad that you wanted to do this and that we were able to talk because the connections are very real. And that's kind of, sometimes you just have to take a chance and that's what life's about, right? It's risk versus reward, right? So,
Well, and just like you're building the podcast, whenever you're building something, you need to be able to evolve.
mhm,
If you just stay stagnant, you don't grow.
right.
So
Yeah, that's so
trying
true.
that other thing that maybe you were not really sure about, but you try it and it works.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Praying After Dark, I'm revamping it from what
Mhm.
it was. It started out as that um, Zoom out, then it went to Praying After Dark. Now I'm trying to turn it into more of a podcast style where I
Sure.
have like a hot guy guest come on and I interview him. So I
Yeah.
went to fashion having a conversation. And then when it's over, I'll open up the panel and have people come up and chit chat about it.
Yeah, it's super cool, right? Because like it's a unique anomaly, right? To do something and have a conversation with somebody that you normally wouldn't have had one with, but that's how you grow as a person, right? That's how you get to be unique, and that's how you get to expand. And like, there are a lot of people that are very narrow-minded and closed-minded. And I don't want to deal with those people, right? Like they're okay, they have their purpose, but like for me, like I'm all about growth, right? And I kind of feel that, you have one shot and you want to take the most of it, right? Like we only live once, so why
That's
not
just
make the most of our lives? And so
forever.
being on my podcast was awesome for me. So I really appreciate you doing this.
Hey, no problem. Anytime. And like I said, if you want to set
Yeah,
it up in the future, we
we're
can touch
definitely going to
base
do that. Yeah,
on where Vanders Media is at that point.
right. So maybe I'll be under the moniker, right?
Right?
So you never know. But yeah, so I'll link this, guys, up on YouTube. Francesca was a great guest, guys. This will be on YouTube under the One Fun Guy podcast. So if you didn't catch it live, it'll be on One Fun Guy podcast on YouTube. So if you just type in One Fun Guy podcast, my profile will pop up. You'll see my logo, and this is where the video will be. And then I'll plug all of Francesca's stuff from there, and then that video will live on. And then if anybody wants to link up with her, where we're at, then you'll know where to go. And if you can't get a hold of her, get a hold of me, and I'll link you up. So
Yeah, and if you could just give me like a highlight reel, and then I can make a post
yeah.
and pin you in
So
it.
so actually, what's kind of cool about this is that TikTok will make a few because of the live now. So
Right.
I'll have those. But when I go to YouTube, what I try to like to do is I try to get like a 75-second clip of like something that like is funny or like we catch. But I'll let you work your magic. And like I said, the video will be up, so you can take snippets of it too. I'll send you the link. So if
Okay.
maybe you thought something was cooler than I did, then we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for being part of the One Fun Guy podcast. And like I said, guys, normally I'm not on TikTok doing the podcast. I'm on StreamYard, but Francesca wanted me to do this because this is where her platform is. So I obligated and obliged and agreed. So thank you all for being a part of the One Fun Guy podcast. And Francesca, is there anything you want to tell your guest on the way out?
Thank you, everybody who came to support not only myself, but One Fun Guy. And thank you, One Fun Guy, for having me on for
No
a guest
problem.
spot. This
Anytime. We'll
was
definitely do it
fun.
again. That's for sure.
And I can't wait to come back and talk about myself, I guess.
Perfect. All right. Sounds good, guys. We'll wrap this up again. This video will be live on YouTube later tonight. I'll send you the links. And if you can go and subscribe to One Fun Guy podcast, you'll see this video and all the other ones. So everybody take care. Francesca, thank you again. And we'll